Hello everyone and welcome back to the final chicane with me, Cristinanneboylan. Hi guys. Finally we are out of this triple header, and honestly, it couldn't have happened at the worst time. I've been so busy these past 3 weeks. I feel like I haven't properly been able to focus during my podcast episodes, and especially like preparing for my podcast episodes. So I'm excited for Miami because hopefully I won't be that busy that weekend. I mean, this weekend I was away Friday and Sunday, which was a disaster. All day. Not a disaster for me because I really enjoyed myself, but a disaster for one wise because, I figured out most of what was going on online. But I did, of course, catch up on everything. And obviously I catched up on Friday, on Saturday, and I catched up on Sunday this morning. It's Monday now. The latest episode you've got so far, because usually it's 11 a.m. now. Usually you have this by 6 a.m. on a Monday. But there's no race weekend this weekend. So I feel like you can live with it being a few hours late. I mean, it's going to be even later by the time I get to edit it. But yeah, again, you're just going to have to deal with that. Okay, let's do Riddle of the Week. It is Riddle of the Week again. I've decided to bring back Riddle of the Week for this week because I didn't have time to try and come up with anything else for you to do. I was going to do like a fun Easter egg game, but I just didn't know how. Like, I would drop Easter eggs, like an Easter egg hunt. I'm not doing it anyway. You get a riddle, that's your Easter treat. So here it is. I entered young, with a helmet bright, a prodigy, but not quite. From feeder fame to Sunday fights, I've danced with giants under the lights. My path was long to taste first place, yet now I charge with a steady pace. I joke, I stream, but on track I'm steel. A quiet storm with nerves of real. So who's that? I'll let you know at the end of today's episode. I mean, I think that was a pretty easy riddle. I think a lot of my listeners are very smart, so I don't think that one should be too hard for you to get. But I liked that riddle. Right, instead of media moments then, will I just tell you what I did this weekend? I will, because it's still sport, and you still should be interested if you love sport, because this is sport. One of my favourites, in fact. So, if you don't know, this weekend was the Irish Dancing Worlds, the CLRG Worlds, which is basically the World Cup, but in Irish dancing. The World Cup of Irish dancing. Like, I don't know how to explain it in Formula 1 terms. It's the most important competition in Irish dancing of the year. So I attended it this weekend. I don't dance anymore. I wasn't good enough. I danced at Worlds once in teams, and never even qualified. So you have to qualify for Worlds. Not everyone gets to compete. You have to qualify just to compete at Worlds. And then once you're at Worlds, you do 2 dances, and then you have to recall. So I think there's like half of the people maybe recall to do one more dance. And it's only the people who recall who actually get a position, who get placed, who, get first, second, third, 50th, whatever it is. So it's very intense. It's very hard to do. So I was there this weekend. It was in Dublin. Usually it's somewhere new every year, but I was very lucky it was in Dublin this year. So I could go because usually I can't afford to fly to, Orlando to go watch it. But my cousins, all of my 3 cousins were dancing. I talk about this like once a year. Last year, I think if you were here since last year, you probably remember me talking about them winning the Worlds last year in their team dance. So yeah, I was lucky to see it live this year. One of my cousins were doing solos and she did incredible. She got her highest finishing ever. She came 15th in the world. And she got a world medal, which means that she automatically it's a world medal. Among other things, she automatically qualifies for next year's Worlds. So I don't know if she'll continue, but she doesn't have to try and recall again. Like, she's the Ulster champ as well. She's insane. And she danced so beautifully. And it was just so nice to watch. But it is long days. So I was there on Friday for the To be fair, I was there Friday to Saturday morning for the dance drama, and they got another Globe. They came third. And then I was there from like 8 a.m. Sunday to, I think I got home around maybe 10:30 p.m. So long day, but it's also like my favorite people ever. Me and my cousins are besties, so it was a lot of fun. Everyone say congratulations, Ellen. And yeah, maybe I took some videos. I might post TikTok. I don't know. But Ellen Shaw, guys, if you want a sports person to support, you should support her because she's unreal. And she took a break a while ago and she came back so strong, and with the new dance school and her dress, oh my God. I don't care what people have to say about like Irish dancers' look with the wigs and the tan and whatever, but she looked phenomenal. So that's where I was. I saw some of the race on Sunday, but I rewatched. I rewatched most of it this morning, and then I did the highlights again and everything like that. So we're good to go. This is going to be more of a discussion because I'm going to need you to actually like help me along in the comments in case there's anything I missed, because it's very different rewatching the race because I'd be watching it, scrolling through social media, seeing all of the different team radios, sort of the more behind the scenes sort of what's going on. And obviously I can't do that when I'm watching it on highlights, and I just have to work with what my For You page sort of is showing me, like team radio wise and behind the scenes moments wise. So hopefully you'll be able to come in to help me here. But let's talk about the race. Such a busy race, especially for the week that I was so busy, it being F1 Academy, F2 and Formula 1 and Worlds, obviously. Insane. Dissertation has went out the door, the scary D word. I haven't done that in so long, and it's due in probably like a week or something like that. So I have been prioritizing Formula 1 way too much. So I'm ready for Miami next week and having nothing this week so I can do my dissertation and chill. And I'm so upset. I didn't get to watch a single F2 race. Like, I obviously kept up to date with what was happening. Obviously, I have to support Alex Dunn. But if you're wondering, girl, where are your Alex Dunn updates on TikTok? It's because I just didn't get to watch them live this week. I was just very busy. Guys. So F1 Academy, I got to watch some of it. I didn't get to watch anything on Sunday. But yeah, I've been literally yapping already for so long. So at least I took over the amount of time that was supposed to be for media moments because I forgot to write those down. So let's just go into free practices of Formula 1. FP1. I always like Jeddah because there's always such close moments with the wall that it just makes you like, because anyone, no matter how senior you are on the grid or how talented or whatever, like literally anyone can go into one of those walls with the slightest incorrect move or the too much speed into a turn or whatever. So it always sort of just keeps you on the edge of your seat. So there's a lot of close moments throughout the weekend. Ollie Behrman starting with that in FP1. Oh my God. It's Easter and there's a rabbit outside. Oh, you can't see it. I'm sorry guys, the Easter bunny was here, which is so funny because like we didn't do Easter yesterday. So we'll probably do it today. Hopefully. I don't know, I haven't got any Easter eggs yet and it's Easter Monday. But I'm sure that Easter bunny just dropped some over. So that's funny. It was a hare, but still. Gasly again on fire this weekend. I did miss FP1 and when I saw that he was P1, I was like, girl, why is he like moving in silence as well? Like I know he's getting praised, but probably not to the extent he should. He's in an Alpine, guys. The Alpine isn't that good. He is out driving that car. It's not just luck when he's constantly doing it. So can we actually just stop and appreciate Pierre Gasly for a second? Verstappen and Tsunoda also side by side in that session. So I was hopeful for this weekend for Yuki anyway to sort of show what he can do in the Red Bull. FP2 though, unfortunately sort of switched the tides for Yuki Tsunoda because he had a crash. A bit of a silly sort of mistake. Not an easy enough mistake to make, but again, it was a mistake by Yuki. So obviously that wasn't great, and he did apologise on Instagram to his team and for making that mistake and everything like that. A lot of kissing the barriers in FP2 as well. Stroll actually had quite a good a good save. He had a bit of a lock-up and he saved that, which, I don't know. That was just something worth noting, I think. And Borletto obviously started off the weekend with a bit of issues. He had a fuel leak and he didn't even make it out to FP2. So it wasn't looking great already for the Sauber. Lando P1 and Oscar P2, both McLarens topping that session. FP3, you know what I wasn't happy about? Which I'm so sort of confused about, because one thing I've always done is with VCarb is praise their communication. But Hadjar was like giving out on the radio. He wasn't shouting. His voice wasn't even raised. It was just like, you know how all Formula 1 drivers talk in a Formula 1 car, like slightly panicked because they're driving a Formula 1 car? And then his team just, I think the quote was like, oh, keep your tone down, Isaac. Like, girl, he's reporting a problem. He's asking you to look into something, whatever it was, and you're just telling him to keep his tone down. Let's not. Like, this is a sport, you know? They're not in school. I find that annoying. I don't know why. Like, it's just a little moment, but I find it annoying because sometimes I feel like this sport is just being so like it's a sport. They're real people. They're not 16-year-olds. I mean, look, some of them could be, but they're not in school. You know, they're not in a classroom. Why do they need to keep their tone down? These are grown, I mean, I say grown adults, like, what age is Kimmy? He's a literal baby. He's a child. But yeah, can we just like not do that? You know? I didn't understand that, to be honest. F1 Academy was also on this weekend. Quite a good weekend as well. Interesting enough for F1 Academy. Leah Block started off the weekend by saying that she just didn't feel great in the car. She felt like she had no grip. And unfortunately it proved that because she crashed out. So yeah, Leah Block, she had probably more of a lockup that just was more punishing than usual. Again, could have been a lot to do with grip. So that brought out the red flag. Close one actually for Ella Lloyd as well, but she saved it luckily. Palmowski was also looking strong throughout that session. Larson too. Dorian Pan had quite a good lap. She went from P11 to P1 in that lap. She had a 2:04.816. So I really liked that lap actually. And I was thinking that it was going to look really strong for her. Obviously there was still around 15 minutes to go at this point. So, you know, that means nothing, that lap. But it was still a good lap. And yeah, qualifying basically ended with Chambers, Pan, Vogue, Palmowski, Larson, Hausman, Lloyd and Felbermeyer in P8, and then race 1 is a reverse grid, so Felbermeyer would then start P1, so 4th until 8th, so pole position would start 8th for race 1. And it was nice, it was actually the first pole for Chloe Chambers. She had a 2:04.320. That was a bit of an improvement on the 2:04.816 from Dorian Pan, who was previously on pole. Provisional pole anyway. So yeah, in campus it was nice to see like the women from the campus team all celebrating. Like, I just love watching F1 Academy because it makes me so happy, and I feel like that couldn't be me in that department because I can't do engineering or driving, but communications I could do communications. I'll have a degree in November. When do I get the degree? Like, it doesn't count. I have a communications degree until I graduate, right? God, I can barely speak today. Anyway, that obviously led to the F1 Academy race. The reverse one, Ella Lloyd won. It was close though. Vogue was coming out of hard, and luckily Vogue made a comeback throughout the weekend because she won her first race then on Sunday. Palmowski was also strong throughout that race, and Chong unfortunately didn't finish the race because of safety car and she was out. Race 2 I didn't get to watch yet. I'm planning on watching that later tonight, but I've seen some clips and obviously I'm very happy for Maya Vogue. It did look a little, she didn't have the cleanest race. The race did look a little messy and there were a few mistakes going on, but altogether she pulled it together and she won, and that's all you really need. Also, I had sort of a good feeling about Lawson this weekend because he was keeping it in the high, like top 15s, like 11th, 12th, top 15s, top 10s, no, top 15s, yeah, I don't know. all weekend. He was looking quite strong, and I guess that is sort of where he finished. But I thought that maybe he would break into the points, and I mean, he wasn't finishing in the points anyway that weekend. Qualifying, we could move on to. A black bag made a quick appearance. I thought that might cause a bit more damage than it did, but luckily it did not, because that would cause damage if it got stuck in anyone's brakes or, their wheels. So that was me, actually. I was the black bag. And ultimately we saw Bortoleto, Ocon, Hook, Doohan and Stroll go out in Q1. Not too big of a surprise there, but I think the gap between Doohan and Gasly is definitely starting to become more noticeable, and I really don't know if Gasly is just insane or if Doohan is struggling a lot. But I would think the Alpine is like maybe a Q2 car. Not too surprising to not get into Q2. That's how I would view the Alpine this year. It hasn't really been different since Alpine became Alpine. Changed from Renault to Alpine. But yeah, I don't know. What are your opinions on that? Do we think Gasly is just insane? I think, I don't know if I don't think Doohan is doing incredible, but I think he's doing fine. For a rookie, I think he's doing, I don't really see an issue with Doohan's performance recently. So I didn't exactly completely focus on Doohan during the race. Maybe next race I might actually just lock in to him and have his team radios going and actually see, because you never know the actual inner problems that are going on with the car or the struggles or what the team are saying if you're not actually focused on that. And a lot of people have a lot to say about a lot of drivers without knowing the inner workings, and I learned that very well from being a Daniel Ricciardo fan. So maybe I need to give that same attention to Jack Doohan and see what's going on there. But I don't think anything to worry about, P2019, 18, P17, you still bet Hulk, Ocon and Bortoleto. Q2, Alex took a bit of a risk. He went out quite early and that risk did not pay off because he did not make it into Q3. Gasly, again, outperforming Hamilton in this session. What is he doing? I just want to sit down with Gasly and just find out where his mind is. I feel like he has just the mental game going, whatever meditation he's doing or whatever he's having for breakfast is working. So I'd like to know what that is. So Q2 obviously then saw P15 Behrman out, Hadjar, Alonso, Lawson and Albon. Lawson out qualified Hadjar, which is definitely a confidence boost for Lawson. Hadjar hasn't been performing as well as he had been at the start of the season recently. I don't know if it's just the tracks that aren't suiting him properly or if there was a change in the car, I don't know, but Lawson has definitely taken that step up, and maybe it's just Lawson getting used to the visa. But yeah, interesting to look at to see if Hadjar does start to, because he was a solid Q3 car for quite a bit, so hopefully he can get that back up there. Albon again out in P11, so again getting out qualified by Carlos, but I think getting the Williams into Q3 is a tough thing to do. So P11 for me is a decent place for Alex. Q3 obviously Lando has been having a few tough moments recently, last weekend and this weekend, and it did get tougher because he crashed in Q3 with 8 minutes to go. So he couldn't improve. At least he saved the crash to Q3. So he was starting still in the top 10, because can you imagine if he crashed and he was starting P20, we wouldn't have got that result today or yesterday. So obviously he crashed without setting a time. He just went in too hard on the throttle, took a bit too much curb, lost control into the wall, and that was it. He was okay, thank God. You always sort of worry with Jeddah crashes, I think they always look quite bad, and it's just because the walls are just so tight together. I don't know, stresses me out, bro. But he was fine. Russell actually had another great lap for provisional pole in this session. Should I say the same thing I say about Russell every week, moving in silence? Because Russell and Gasly do be moving in silence. But yeah, Russell is he's just clean. He's had a clean season so far and he's doing what he needs to do, and it's very good. He hasn't been outstanding, he hasn't been astonishing, but he's been exactly where he needs to be. So I'd be happy with that if I was Russell. But Piastri then did take provisional pole off of him. Piastri then takes provisional pole off of Russell, even without a great sector 2. So that really showed the speed of the McLaren, typically, or more specifically, the speed of Oscar Piastri in that McLaren. But he didn't get pole either. Verstappen then took pole by 1/100th. That's 0.01. So Max got the 127.294 with Piastri 0.01 behind, Russell 0.11 behind, and like that's just, the margins are intense. It's close this season. I really want to see Russell though just like do something spectacular, astonishing, outstanding. What were the words I used earlier? I don't know. I'm ready for a Russell like masterclass race at this point. I like George, I really do. Verstappen, Piastri, Russell, Leclerc, Antonelli, Sainz, Hamilton, Tsunoda and Gasly make the top 10 again. Strong enough from Gasly to even get into Q3. Obviously he couldn't improve much more than that, but Sainz as well, getting up that high. He should be very impressed and proud of his entire weekend, I guess, but he definitely started off strong and beating Hamilton in the Ferrari, which is obviously the much faster car. Hamilton, again, a strong enough weekend. Obviously, his main aim is going to be getting on top of Leclerc and to be beating him more often and proving his place on Ferrari. But again, Charles obviously has a lot more experience driving the Ferrari, and this is something that Hamilton still has to get used to. And he's shown his pace so far, so I'm not too worried about that. I think there'll be some close battles between those two to come. Many to come, I think. And then obviously Norris, without his time, finishes out that top 10. It's funny every time, and I talk about how I say this every time as well, but every time that Max doesn't win and every time Max isn't dominating and he gets pole, it's just so much better because he just sounds so happy on the radio. Like, he was so happy on the radio, and that completely disapparated. Disapparated? Is that a word, or did I just take that from Harry Potter? Disapparated? Apparated? Apparated? Which one is the Harry Potter word? Disapparated or apparated? Is disapparated a real word or not? Disapparated. Disapparated. Well, I know apparated is in Harry Potter, but is disapparated in Harry Potter? Disapparated? Okay, I'm literally... I just don't have any sleep, guys. I'm sorry. Disapparated. I don't know if that's a real word. I'm sorry. If you don't watch Harry Potter, you probably no idea what I'm talking about. I'm not even going to correct myself. I'm too tired. F1 Academy. I already talked about. Oh, guys. I just need some sleep. I need some sleep. I feel as rough as I look. I hope everyone had a good Easter. And I hope you weren't hoping for a proper academic race review today. I feel like we should just chat, you know. I have my notes, but my eyes aren't even focusing on my notes, to be honest. I have so many notes. And I wrote with sort of an inky pen, so I can't even make out my writing. But the race, I only wrote these this morning as well, and I don't know what I've even been talking about. Oscar, great getaway. He had a really good getaway. He firmly got that corner. Oh, I don't even want to talk about this first lap thing with the Max and Oscar because I don't know. I think so. Oscar got the corner. He got the corner. It was his corner. Max overtook off track. I think Red Bull should have just given the place back to Oscar. But then I know but when they didn't, because I did watch this part live, I was like, no, that makes sense because 5-second penalty, I just assumed Max would pull away a bit more, that it wouldn't make a difference, but he didn't. I don't see a huge issue with... But then I think, okay, so this is the part that I want your help with. I'm not sure what Max drama is right now, and apparently say that if it was the first lap thing, it wouldn't count. And then he went back on that and penalised Max. I'm not sure. I did see a video of them having what looked to be a potentially heated discussion at the finish. So I'm not sure what happened there. So if anyone has a bit of more information on that, and then I can give my opinion on it, because I don't know, I'm not bothered to look it up, guys. I did try to look it up this morning and I couldn't really find anything other than opinions. So that's where we are on that. But yeah, obviously Max wasn't happy with that at all. Ugh, the drama this weekend from Oscar and Lando fans as well. It's exhausting, guys. Lando fans just seem to hate Oscar. I don't know. There's a lot of like people saying, oh, the team is treating them unfairly. I'm just going to go back to being a Daniel fan and being deep into these discussions on Twitter and reading everything and not missing anything. Some Lando fans being quite hypocritical, because they were like, oh, this is just how the sport works, when it was like Daniel fans saying this sort of stuff. And now it's like, now they're literally like saying what Daniel fans have been saying. I saw some like fights going on about how McLaren posted Piastri but P1 Astri, and they were like, why didn't you post that for Lando? Like, people genuinely getting upset about that. But like, Lando doesn't have that in his name. Lando doesn't have a P1. Everyone was like, oh, but they should have put in a like an O or 1S. But they're doing it because it's P1, like P1, position 1. That's why they did it for Piastri. Like, it's just exhausting to be on Twitter and just to see so many people complain about that. And I'm sure it works both ways. I'm sure there's a lot of Oscar fans who literally complain about Lando for the littlest things. And there's a lot of people who complain about Lando for everything. And it's just exhausting. Like, can you not just watch the racing? There's a lot where words get twisted and everything like that. I think something that was twisted was sort of Lando saying that Red Bull were the fastest car, but I think he more said that Max was the fastest on the track, and that was brought back, and Piastri was like, no, McLaren were the fastest, whatever it was. And now then that caused a lot of hate towards Lando, which he didn't deserve, because that's not really what he said. But also it's fine for him to think that, because I think Max was the fastest, like, statistically. There's just so much drama. Sometimes I like it, and then sometimes I'm just like, boring, let's just talk about something. Like, there's just so much drama that is actual drama, and that's interesting. And then people just like to make up some stuff as well. I don't know, maybe I'm just too tired to even talk about this today. I'm probably a bit hypocritical as well. I get it. Things change when it comes to your own driver, and I've definitely done it before. I've definitely said something about this driver and then my driver does that, and I'm like, I don't do that anymore though, guys. I promise. Then obviously the other start of the race incident was between Yuki and Pierre, which, if there's two people I don't want to crash into each other, it's Yuki and Pierre, because they're obviously besties. And it was quite funny in the post-race. I was watching their interviews this morning, and you could tell so hard, like, Pierre was annoyed at Yuki. And obviously it was more, like, I wouldn't blame Pierre at all. It was definitely more Yuki's fault, but also first lap incident, which I completely agree with. I don't think Yuki should get penalised for it. I think how it went was fine. But he was like, it was just funny. He was sort of like tiptoeing around blaming Yuki as well. Like, it was Yuki's fault, but let's not blame Yuki. Sort of vibes. I respected it. They were both, and I think Yuki thought it was more Pierre's fault as well. But I didn't really see it as Pierre's fault. I did think that would have been on Yuki if it was on anyone, but overall, definitely a first corner incident, and definitely not Yuki's intention, just some hard racing that didn't go well. So the first incident obviously did lead to Max getting a 5-second penalty. I think I said that, and people were obviously discussions going on about whether it would have been better to give that place back or take the 5 seconds. I think I probably would have just given the place back. I think that's always the best thing to do. But straight away, because the longer you're going, the more difficult it would be. I would just give it back straight away if you're going wide. But then again, I don't know what was said, like, behind the scenes that made Max think what was said there, and what Max is so annoyed about, because he was very annoyed. I'll talk about more of what he said in his post-race, I guess, once I finish this talking. The safety car ended lap 3. George was ready to go. He was eager in this race, but it didn't actually pay off too greatly, I guess. He had a fine race. It wasn't anything astonishing, astounding, spectacular. They're my 3 words that I've been using against George for some reason this episode. Norris and Hamilton had quite a battle. Hamilton was playing him. He let Lando overtake somewhere that Lando didn't want to overtake because Lewis knew he would get a better point to go past Lando, and Lando would obviously struggle to get him after that, but Lando did overtake him a lap later, so that was nice to see. Lewis is like, what do you call that, like the strategics of it all, the strategic letting yourself get overtaken because you know that you can overtake again in a better place and to have more chance of keeping it, which he did. He kept it for a lap, so fair play. And then the pit stops were happening around lap 20. I think Oscar pitted on lap 20 actually, so that was obviously something to keep an eye on. Max kept out to try and make an overcut work, but it didn't work. The undercut was stronger this race. Max did do well with his pace, and I really did think that Max was going to make it work, but obviously he didn't. This was the point that I had to stop watching because results were coming out for the Worlds, so I did have to just watch the rest the next day, but I was sort of looking at it on my phone anyway. Oh, the very close incident sort of between Bortoleto and Alonso, that was funny, especially because if you don't know, Alonso is Bortoleto's manager, so every time there's an incident between them, Alonso can't really get annoyed. You can tell that Alonso is very fond of Bortoleto, I think, and Alonso, if you missed it, Bortoleto nearly put Alonso into the wall. It was so close. Alonso had to ask the team to check for damage. I like that. It also shows Alonso's skill to have kept the car not in the wall during that point, and luckily Bortoleto did well as well to not put him in the wall any further, but obviously that was Bortoleto's fault in that. Not too big of a deal, just a scary moment for Alonso, I would say. Lando pitted around lap 35, and during that he went over the pit lines that you're not really allowed to go over, but luckily he didn't get a penalty for that. I thought he was going to, so I'm sort of glad that he didn't in the end. Oh, actually, I think one of my favourite overtakes so far of the season was Piastri's overtake on Hamilton. Was it Hamilton? It was Piastri's overtake on Lewis. It was very fast. I saw that live and I really liked that. I wrote that in my notes because I was just writing them on my phone because I didn't have my notebook with me. So I appreciate that. I actually want to watch that again. I haven't watched that back since the first time. I hope it's as impressive as I saw it the first time. Maybe it's not, and I just because I think I was walking while I was watching this as well, back to the convention centre. So I don't know, I need to watch that. My words aren't even forming properly, have you noticed? I've stumbled into most of my words. We're getting back to our proper level, to our final chicane level next week. The podcast is going to be good. It's going to flow better. The final chicane brain game is going to be unreal. Maybe I'll add something fun in as well. I will have some sleep. Ugh, when is the race? The race in Miami is late, so I'll have to wait till Monday to do that as well. That's okay. As long as I get to watch the race, I'll be fine. And maybe I'll just do my stretches while I continue this episode. But yes, Oscar then won the race. He won by 2.843 seconds. Obviously, that is after Verstappen served his penalty already. So without the penalty, potentially Verstappen. Why am I saying Hamilton? Verstappen would have won. So a lot of people were sort of saying that the penalty cost Max Verstappen the race. I think Alex was flying home with Max on his jet that night. So he was, what did he say? He said he was going to sleep or something. I don't know. Obviously thinking Max is not going to be in the best mood after that, and Max definitely wasn't. So that win obviously let Oscar lead the championship for the first time ever, and also the first time since Mark Webber, probably in 2010. Was it 2010? So yeah, Oscar on 99 points, Lando on 89 points, and Max on 87 points. That's your top three in the championship. Oscar 10 points ahead of Lando. I'm happy to see Oscar leading the championship, though. I don't think many people expected it to be Oscar that was leading the championship at this stage. I know Lando was definitely favoured too, but Lando has been making mistakes. Luckily, he didn't sound too hard on himself after the race. I think he realised he did what he could in that race. Obviously, he had his mistakes during qualifying, but not a bad race from Lando in the end. Anyway, he got up there. The media obviously post-race, Max, a bit of drama, not really drama, but very telling what some of the drivers were saying post-race, especially Max. He was asked for sort of his opinion, and he said he can't say his opinion. It's not allowed. You know, he'd get in trouble for whatever with the FIA if he spoke about his opinion on the penalty, if he spoke, because that's one of the rules, if you remember, like speaking out on the FIA could get you a fine, and then a fine and a race ban, and then a suspension. Like, you know, it's tough. Another thing that's worth mentioning is I believe Jack Doohan has one race left on his contract, so he can be fired sort of after Miami. I think it was Miami that I wrote down at the start of the season. So what are your opinions on that? I think he should be allowed to continue for longer. Look, I love Franco and I want him here too, but I don't think Jack Doohan deserves to lose his seat. And that hasn't really like been a topic of conversation, a main topic of conversation. I don't know if that's a topic of conversation. Like, I just can't talk. I don't know if that's a topic of conversation in Alpine, because I'm not there. I don't know. I am not Jack Doohan, but I haven't seen too much word about it, so hopefully Jack Doohan is fine on that one. Oscar was funny in the cool down room, that's what it's called, when he was watching the Alonso and Gabi moment. He was like, Oscar calls Gabriel Bortoleto Gabi. Didn't know that was a thing. He said that he might not have a flight home, obviously, because of that, and because he would be sharing the flight home with Alonso. See, I'm just talking now. Guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to tell you the riddle of the week. The answer is, do you want to say it at the same time? 1, 2, 3. Yes, it is Lando Norris. I don't think I've done him before for the riddle of the week, have I? Sorry if I have, but I couldn't remember doing it because I struggled to come up with this one that wasn't easy. Like, I had 4 in there, I had papaya in there, and I was like, girl, at least take out 4 and papaya. I had orange in there as well, and I was like, I think I kept orange in. Did I keep orange in? What was my final draft of the riddle of the week? But, you know, his bright helmet, I thought that you might get that. I don't know if I had orange in. Oh, I'm not bothered to check, guys. You let me know. Don't let me know, actually, I don't care. I hope, you know what, you should be taking account of how many, like, Final King brain games you get right. What else? Oh, do you guys... I started doing a thing on TikTok, and I posted one on YouTube where I'm, like, trying the foods of the country that the Grand Prix are in. So it's obviously Miami next week, and I'm a little confused about what to do for Miami. I don't know, I've sort of been struggling with all of them. Like, I go to the shop and sort of, we have like, it's an Asian supermarket, but it has Arabic, you know, it has a few sections in it, and they have some really good food there. But yeah, Miami is next week. What foods should I try or drinks should I try for Miami? I'm sort of usually doing snacks, so if there's any snacks, that would be useful, especially snacks that I can buy in Ireland. I know, like, there's a lot of like American sweets, candy, sort of, you know, in Tesco, in lots of places here. But if there's anything specific to Miami, that would be helpful. Someone gave me a few options which were good. I am a vegetarian, so I think like there's a lot of like ham and sort of stuff, so I can't really do any of that. I'm happy to buy that, and I'll just get, you know, one of my friends or my family to taste test it. But if anyone has any vegetarian ideas, that would be nice. And yeah, I've posted 2 on TikTok. I think I've only posted 1 on YouTube, but that was fun. It's just an excuse for me to eat random foods, actually. Some of them haven't been great though so far. I really didn't like any of the ones we chose from Bahrain that much, but I also think that we just chose an awful selection. Like, we did not do Bahrain justice for that. So yeah, I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. It was just an exhausting week. We're going to be back to the level, the standard of the final chicane next week, because I realise the standard has been gone soon. Like last episode was so rushed. I filmed it before the race had properly even finished, like before podium even happened, and then this one I didn't get to properly form my thoughts on anything, and I can't remember. I'll have my dissertation done before Miami, so like my brain just can focus entirely on Formula One then for the rest of my life. So yeah, just hold on one more week. If you have actually stayed for these last episodes, I don't think many people even watched my last episode, which is actually fair. But thanks for staying and sticking around, especially if you've stuck around to this part of me talking. If you're listening to me talk right now, you are one of God's strongest soldiers, because this episode has probably been a mess. But I think I gave my fair opinion on quite a few things. And yeah, I'm done talking now, guys. I'm gonna go. Bye.